morning, welcome back to the Fire Burns Within channel. It's a very bright sunny Sunday at the moment. I'm sure it will change, but at the moment it's lovely and bright. Yeah, I thought I'd do this video. It's a list video. I haven't done any list videos for a while, so I thought let me do this list video. Yeah, German heavy power metal, my top 20 recommended German heavy power metal, traditional metal, whatever you want to call it. No death growls, none of that business, just clean, classic, melodic, happy, sometimes heavy, but still that kind of metal. And the other caveat being is I don't like to mention the same band twice, so it's only one band per album. So some bands, they deserve to have 2 or 3 albums in the top 20, but I've got to pick the best one from their discography and just mention that one. And I haven't put these in order, it's just too difficult to really give an order to these. But anyway, let's just start. I'm not going to show the actual CDs, but I think I own 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 out of the 20 I own. So a fair few. And the other 5, well, if they pop up somewhere, I'll grab them. But no urgency. But anyway, let's get on with this. First album is Brainstorms Ambiguity. I think it's either the second or third album. I can't remember now. They've had loads of albums. I love this album. This was the first time I heard Brainstorm. Andy Frank on vocals. Very cool band. Saw them live a couple of times as well. But I love Ambiguity. The song that sticks in my mind the most is Arena, I think it's called, and a couple of the other ones as well. I should have done more homework on this, but yeah, very cool album. Yeah, I love a lot of Brainstorm albums. Some of their latter day stuff is starting to sound a bit samey, and then their very last album is really good again. I forget the names. Yeah, but Ambiguity is the one that stands out for me from their discography. But they've got a lot of good albums. Metus Mortis is good, Liquid Monster is good, Downburst is even good, but Ambiguity for the win. Next is Ed Guy, Theatre of Salvation. It's still my favourite Ed Guy album. I love this. This was my first Ed Guy. The ones before it, I wasn't hugely keen on. Vainglory Opera is pretty good, but Theatre of Salvation is my favourite. The ones that follow are quite good as well. I mean, Ed Guy's solid, it's fun, it's catchy. You know, Toby, he's just a genius for melodic metal music. Next, another big band, Freedom Call, and one of their latter day albums actually called Beyond. I think it's the album before the current one, which was called Metal. Beyond is really awesome. This one I don't actually own, and I would like to own it eventually, but I love Beyond. I think it's one of Freedom Call's best albums. I mean, all their albums are pretty solid. They're pretty interchangeable. Chris Bay, the leader of Freedom Call, he knows all about melodic power metal. The guy knows happy metal inside out. Next is a biggie, Master Plan's self-titled debut. Amazing album, sort of like almost a super group. Jorn Lander on vocals, Roland Grappow on guitars, and I think it's, can't remember who the drummer was. I think it's the Blind Guardian drummer. Yeah, Master Plan is just awesome. The follow-up is awesome, Aeronautics. But the self-titled makes the fourth album on my list. It's just an awesome sort of like, because Yorn is sort of like a heavy rock singer as well, so he sort of moves it a little bit away from power metal, but it's like a great mix between the two. Next is Powerwolf, The Sacrament of Sin. I love Powerwolf. Powerwolf is awesome German heavy power metal band. Yeah, I just love Powerwolf. Literally all their albums are awesome, apart from the debut, which is just good for me. But Sacrament of Sin, I don't know, everything works to perfection on that album. It's so melodic. Next is an album from this year. It's Victorious, Space Ninjas from Hell. I really like this album. It's made my top 20 of this list, and it's not easy to make this top 20 because there's a lot of great albums, but I think this album is really worth the listen. I mean, it's very Halloween-ish. It's sort of like, it's got sort of goofy things going on as well, you know, spacey things and themes. Very high pitch singer, just very epic, like over the top epic choruses. Very cool. Next is another German band, obviously, Mob Rules and Hollowed Be Thy Name. Not hallowed, hollowed be thy name. Yeah, I like Mob Rules a lot. Very cool band, very melodic, very cool singer. This one is, as the title would suggest, quite close to Iron Maiden in feel, but also their own style as well, also Germanic a lot as well. I love that album, Mob Rules. A lot of their albums are really good, their latter day albums, very good. Next is Wizard and Odin. I love Wizard. Wizard is like the German Manowar, basically. I've liked them for a long time. The album I like a lot is, I think it's called Defenders of Metal, or is that a song? I can't remember. Yeah, anyway, they've had a lot of albums now. They're all very good, especially the mid to late period. Very heavy, very melodic, very catchy. Wizard, I mean, I love this one, Odin. It's obviously a Norse themed album. Very cool. Okay, next one, Axel Rudy Pell, Oceans of Time. Yeah, this one is sort of like, everyone knows Axel. He's a classic. He's been doing the same albums over and over and over and over. I mean, he continuously churns out similar sounding records, but Oceans of Time is just a classic record. I love this record. I think it's one of his best. Johnny Gioeli on vocals. That guy, at that time, like early, say, around the turn of the century, 2000, say 2005, 6, that guy was literally everywhere. He was my favourite singer on the planet. I mean, over time, I've sort of slightly got worn off Axel Rudy Pell stuff. I mean, you know, there comes a time when even if you don't seek originality, you will start to, you know, hit a brick wall when it comes to, you know, buying or sampling or listening to a certain guy's music when there's so little difference between the albums. I mean, he released an album this year, and I think, was it this year? Yeah, pretty sure it was this year. It was good. It's a solid album, but again, it's not a classic. Oceans of Time, however, is, I think it's just an awesome album. I love that album. Next is a massive album. It'll probably be in everyone's list. It's Gamma Ray, Land of the Free. What can I say about Kai? He's the godfather of German power metal. I mean, he started it all, I think. I don't know anyone else ahead of him. Maybe some guys from Halloween, Michael Wyckoff, or I don't know. Kiska's just a singer, but I don't know. Kiska. These are the legends of German power metal. Land of the Free. I think I first heard it in around '96. I remember going into Berwick Street in near Oxford Street, and there's a shop there called Mr. CD. It's long gone now. I went into Mr. CD, and I wasn't really big into power metal in them days. I was sort of more into thrash and death. And then I saw Gamma Ray, and I thought, let me just buy this. It was about £6, I think. Let me buy this and try this. I don't know. The cover looks quite interesting. So I heard it, and I thought, wow, this is so cool. This is so melodic. This is like epic catchiness, and this is like, I suddenly realised what power metal is all about. Like, I wasn't really, I mean, I knew about power metal from Maiden and all that, but you know, from heavy metal, melodic styles, but I was not really fully immersed in that scene. So finally, Land of the Free brought me into the power metal scene, and to this day, it's just a great album. I mean, I don't listen to it a huge amount, probably not at all in, I don't know, God knows how long, but I still have the songs, you know, in my memory, especially the memorable ones, so it easily makes the list. Next is another biggie band. It's the other biggie band. It's Halloween, but it's not the album you're thinking of. I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this. I'm gonna get a whole heap of shit, but Keeper 2 is not my favourite album. The album I've chosen from Halloween is an Andy Darius era album, and it's Gambling with the Devil. Now, I know that it's not like a really popular album, but for me, I just love this album. I think Gambling with the Devil is possibly my favourite Halloween album. I mean, I love The Dark Ride as well, and I do love some of the recent ones, and I do like the Keeper albums, but I don't know. I just feel Gambling with the Devil is the one I like the most. I don't know, and the one I'm gonna include in my list. So you just have to sue me on that one. Okay, next one. A band that's been going a while. It's Iron Savior and Unification. They've had a lot of albums. Unification was their second album. I just played this to absolute death. Pete Silk, I think he was ex-Blind Guardian. He knows power metal inside out, Pete Silk. He's a great riff writer. His vocals are very good. The choruses are epic. I love Iron Savior. They are so good. So melodic. Okay, you just reminded me actually. My list is not going to include the one of the most well-loved and famous German power metal bands, which I nearly said Blind Guardian. There's no Blind Guardian in my list. I know this is going to be like a massive like, what are you doing? No Blind Guardian, you know, top 20 German power metal albums of all time list. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about Blind Guardian that I've never really gotten into. I don't know. I'm not saying they're a bad band. They're a good band. They've got a lot of like good albums. Imaginations from the Other Side is very good. I used to own that. What else? I used to have Follow the Blind, which I didn't really like. And what else did I have? I had one more as well. Nightfall in Middle Earth, which is probably people's favourite, maybe. Yeah, I liked them, but I don't know. I just didn't gravitate towards Blind Guardian. Something about Hansi's voice is sometimes irritating me. I don't know why. Or something more overblown in Blind Guardian's music that doesn't sit well with me, even though I do like a lot of overblown music, but I don't know. Anyway, no Blind Guardian unless I digress. So Iron Savior, yes, Unification, awesome album. They're actually going to release a new album later on in the year, I believe. I was reading on the internet. Okay, let me have a little quick drink of water. Talking too much. Okay, next album is another huge band. It's Primal Fear, Jaws of Death. I think it's their second album. Primal Fear, I could choose literally any album and it's worthy of, a mention. Very cool. Judas Priest fixated band. Very cool. Jaws of Death is like the follow up to their very impressive debut. Sorry. Very cool album. Ralph Sheepers. The man needs no introduction. He's a legend of the mic. Amazing. Next album is Silent Force, Worlds Apart. This band is sort of like slightly under the radar. Very cool band, fronted by DC Cooper, so they've got the American angle there. But I still class them as a German band in general. Very cool band, very cool album. Great vocals from DC. Amazing stuff. Next album, Storm Warrior, Heading North. Storm Warrior is like, I would say, basically a Running Wild tribute type of band, but obviously they do their own music, but the whole style and feel is Running Wildish, very sort of speedy, melodic, heavy, roughish singer, very catchy stuff. Heading North is definitely my favourite album from theirs. It's sort of like Norse god themed power metal, or even speed metal if you like. Next album is Rage and Sound Chaser. This is definitely my favourite Rage album. I just love this album. It's like, you know, the more power metalish, more melodic metal Rage, not thrashy Rage. Very catchy songs, great riffs from Victor. PV's great vocals. He's quite rough, but he's also quite melodic. Very cool, catchy lines on the choruses, and it's all about the heavy melodic riffs for me. I just love the riffs in Rage and Sound Chaser. Next band, Running Wild, my favourite German power metal band of all time. The album I'm going to mention is The Rivalry. The first time I heard Running Wild, I just fell in love with rock and roll style. I love the lyrics, I love the music. I mean, Running Wild is hard to give a top 10 or whatever. I just love a lot of albums, but I've picked The Rivalry today over Death or Glory. Death or Glory and The Rivalry are my two favourite Running Wild albums. But, I mean, I love a lot of them. They're all very good. Black Hand In is so good. So many of them. Masquerade, I love a lot of them. I mean, the two early ones are a little bit raw for me. They're okay, but once they start going into the full pirate metal themes, then I'm fully on board. And The Rivalry, I just love The Rivalry. I think it's awesome. It's probably the last really good Running Wild album. After that, you know, rock and roll starting to dilute the sound. I don't know. I still like many songs, but something's not quite right. But anyway, I love The Rivalry, and it's making my top 20 here. 3 albums to go. Next one is Odin, Ogan and Gunmen, released a few years ago now. Odin, Ogan is epic. I love them. I mean, they're more like in the Blind Guardian style, which sort of, I said I don't like Blind Guardian, but I like Odin, Ogan. I don't know, it doesn't make sense, right? And then it's just the way Odin, Ogan sounds. The singer Sieb, he's very melodic, very epic. The choirs are like huge, very memorable. The music is like fast, it's quite heavy as well. It's very melodic. They're about to release a new album as well in the next month or so after Gunmen. But Gunmen, it makes it for me. It's an amazing album. A couple of their other albums are amazing as well. Eastern Hope, To the End, Ravenhead, all absolutely amazing. They could all easily be included on another day. But today, Gunmen is the one that makes the list. Okay, 2 albums to go. Next is Angel Dust and Bleed. Yeah, I love these guys. They were quite a thrashy band to begin with, and they sort of left thrash and said, well, we'll jump on the heavy power metal bandwagon. And it was a good move for me. It was like, yes, Angel Dust. You've finally decided to include more melodies and still be very heavy, very melodic, very memorable. Bleed is a great album. I love Bleed. It's so heavy, crunchy riffs, very melodic, very catchy. It's probably my favourite of theirs. I like the one after as well, but that one's quite a lot more modern. But I love Bleed, and I think it's underrated and makes my list. And my final album from this German top 20 power metal recommended albums from me is Gravedigger, Knights of the Cross. This was my first Gravedigger album. Since then, I've heard them all. Yeah, I love Knights of the Cross. It's, you know, the first time you hear a band is always something memorable about it. So it sticks in the mind when you hear a band. And Knights of the Cross was the first time I heard Gravedigger, Chris Bolton-Dahl, Uwe Lillis at the time. He was in the band, I think. He was the guitarist. He's not anymore. Yeah, I like the Gravedigger style. It's a much earthier, raw, heavy style. It's quite a little bit separate from some of the other German bands. Especially Chris's vocal style is very raw, very sort of like roaring, a little bit like rock and roll, but even more rough. You know, it's sort of very cool to have a different style of singer, but still have a lot of character in his voice. And Knights of the Cross is a great album, very memorable. But it doesn't feature their biggest hit, which is Rebellion, the Clans Are Marching. That song is awesome. That's on their previous album. I forget the title now. Yeah, that's on the previous album. They've released a shitload of albums since then. Just released one this year, and it's really good. Real back to form album, the one that came out this year. It's a sort of like completing the Scottish themed albums, which they like doing. They like talking about Scotland and so on. Yes, there we have it. Gravedigger, Knights of the Cross. So there's my 20 German heavy power metal albums of all time, but obviously only one per band. A couple of big misses. No Halloween, well, no Keeper and no Blind Guardian at all. I think I included most other big bands, but just missing. Sorry, Blind Guardian fans. What can I say? What can I say? Okay, quick rundown. We got Brainstorm, Ambiguity, Ed Guy, Theatre of Salvation, Freedom Call Beyond, Masterplan Self-Title, Power Wolf, The Sacrament of Sin, Victorious, Space Ninjas from Hell, Mob Rules, Hollowed Be Thy Name, Wizard, Odin, Axel Repel, Oceans of Time, Gamma Ray, Land of the Free, Halloween, Gambling with the Devil, Iron Savior, Unification, Primal Fear, Jaws of Death, Silent Force, Worlds Apart, Storm Warrior, Heading North, Rage, Sound Chaser, Running Wild, The Rivalry, Odin Ogan, Gunmen, Angel Dust Bleed, Gravedigger, Knights of the Cross. Okay, stay tuned, heavy metal fans.